If you're in the habit of killing your plants due to a lack of watering them, then you're certainly not alone. With our busy lifestyles, it's rarely not about caring and more a case of being just one of those things that slips your mind until you walk past your plant one day and notice that the leaves have already started to go brown and curl up. And whilst plants need water, they also need the right amount of water. Get it wrong and you'll start to rot the roots. So getting that balance right isn't easy, especially when every plant has different needs, depending on the soil, the pot size, and even the time of year. What we're looking at today is the new Third Reality Soil Moisture Sensor Generation 2, which is available to buy now. It's an updated version of the popular moisture sensor which was released back in 2024 and looks to improve upon that in a number of key areas. In this video, I'm looking at what this sensor has to offer, what's changed from the Gen 1 version, and finding out how well it performs. Hey everyone, my name's Simon and welcome to Bite of Geek, a channel that's all about home assistant and smart home technology. So a big thank you to my credit card for buying the Third Reality Soil Moisture Sensor Generation 2, allowing me to test and review it on the channel. And as always, you'll get my honest thoughts and opinions about it. So on the box then, and you'll see that things are kept very simple with plain black and white packaging and branding. There's no mention of Zigbee or any smart home ecosystems that this supports on it at all, which I find quite odd. However, I'll talk about what it does support in just a moment. Inside the box, and keeping things simple again, we have the soil sensor and a small instruction sheet, and that's it. The sensor itself is made up of this plastic body with a twist off top, and then the lower part of the body is the soil probe itself. When you remove the top of the sensor, then inside you get to see the installed PCB, complete with a pre-fitted AA battery. On the back of the PCB is the SoC, and although I couldn't identify what it was, it does look like an ESP32 of some variety by the markings on it. Elsewhere, you've also got an LED and a reset button. So after removing the battery protector, the sensor immediately went into pairing mode, as you can see with the flashing blue light. I'm using Zigbee to MQTT, and with pairing enabled, it immediately showed up and was fully onboarded in about 30 seconds. As you can see, it comes up as a smart soil sensor Gen 2 with temperature, humidity and soil moisture readings. Now, there was an over-the-air update available for the sensor which showed up after about 30 minutes of use. It did take a while to go through, but it does bring additional changes which I'll show you in just a moment. In terms of specification then, so this is model 3RSM0347Z as opposed to the Gen 1 which is 3RSM0147Z. It operates at 1.5 volts using a single AA battery, and it communicates over Zigbee 3. It has a temperature range of -10 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, give or take 1.5 degrees Celsius. Humidity range is from 0 to 100% with an accuracy of ±3%. I couldn't find any IP rating for this device on any of the documentation or the Third Reality website. However, the original version was apparently IP67 rated, so given this is an improvement on that, I would expect this to at least remain the same. It's also worth noting that on the Third Reality website, it does mention the different use cases for the sensor, and whilst it is recommended for indoor use, outdoor use is also mentioned as well. And finally, its overall length is just over 18 centimeters. So if you intend to put this in with a small plant, you might want to think how that might look. However, with larger plants, it looks perfectly fine. This soil sensor features an optimized capacitive probe, which apparently helps improve measurement stability with reduced fluctuations over a period of time. The result of which helps you better understand the condition of the soil your plant is in and ultimately helps you decide whether it needs to be watered or not. In this side-by-side comparison of the Gen 1 and Gen 2, you can clearly see the differences between them, both in the length of the probe and the size of the plastic body. So just looking at that redesign then, and we can see that the active probe area has been shortened by quite a bit in favour of a more robust body overall. Clearly, you don't really need a probe as long as it was on the Gen 1 device, and having a shorter length does help prevent bending when it's inserted into slightly harder soil. A nice improvement that should help with the long-term durability of the device. The Gen 2 also has an improved antenna design, which should offer a more stable Zigbee connection. Obviously, everyone's environment is going to be different here, so your results might vary, but certainly in my testing of it, it has been very stable indeed. I've been using the third reality sensor for a little while now, and I put it in with an indoor plant. It took a short time to stabilize in the soil, but after that, it's remained consistent with its readings. You can see here in this footage, I've just gone and added a small cup of water to the area that the sensor is in, and very quickly it reported that increase in moisture levels back into Home Assistant. The sensor does feel a little top heavy with that AA battery in it, so you do have to try and get the best placement, and if the soil is a little dry, then it might be best to add some water first and dig down a little so that you can get it into a stable position. My Zigbee coordinator is probably the nearest connection point in my mesh to the sensor, and I've found the stability to be rock solid, with the sensor sending updates through seemingly every 10 minutes. And whilst I recognise this hasn't been a great length of time, battery life has remained consistently at 100%, which does suggest that there isn't any crazy draining taking place. And whilst you're not really buying this for the temperature reading, it is pretty accurate compared to my Aqara sensor, which is also in the same room as the plant. Third Reality continue to sell the Gen 1 version of this sensor on their website, albeit for a slightly cheaper price. But in all honesty, unless you want to buy it for the discount, then I see no reason to choose that over the newer Generation 2. As although this offers the same basic functionality, it does have those improvements I've mentioned earlier. And as you would imagine, the sensor shows up in Home Assistant without issue, and you get the three main entities displayed along with the battery life. Now, as I mentioned earlier, probably 30 minutes after this device was onboarded, I did notice that there was an over-the-air update for it, which did take quite a while to go through. But there was also an update to Zigbee to MQTT as well, which I also did. And after both of those had finished, things did change quite a bit. As you can see, we now have calibration for the temperature. We still have the moisture and temperature sensors, but the humidity seems to have disappeared despite having a calibration setting now available for it. This is quite odd, as in the state information you can clearly see that the humidity is there as a reading, so this may well be an issue with Zigbee to MQTT. Whilst the Soul sensor does work directly with smart home ecosystems such as Home Assistant and SmartThings, to use it with something like Apple or Google, you are going to need a smart bridge, which is sold separately. It's also interesting to note that Amazon is missing from this list, and when you look at the FAQs on the website, it appears that it's not supported due to those devices not supporting humidity. This is my first third reality device in my smart home, and I'm actually quite pleased with it. The choice of using a single AA battery means I don't need to keep on replacing the stupidly expensive coin batteries, and whilst I couldn't find any expected battery life information, it's worth noting that the Gen 1 device was expected to last 3 years before a battery swap was required. Admittedly, it's a very simple device, but still a very important one. It's the kind of thing you set up and just let it get on and do its job. And if you're not one for checking how your plants are doing on a daily basis, then it's the perfect thing to set up some nice automations to give you that little reminder, or even hook it up with your smart irrigation system. If you want to pick up the Third Reality Gen 2 soil sensor, then it's available now for $19.99. I'll leave an affiliate link in the description down below. Alternatively, you can just scan the QR code showing on the screen here if you prefer to do that. If you found this video helpful, then I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel for more smart home content like this. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.